With that, I turn it over to Laurie.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning on this beautiful Sunday morning with the sun shining and the birds singing. And we're going to talk today about using your voice. That's the theme of this month. But I also want to work on some energy with you, if I have your permission. We're going through a time of removing patterns and cords and changing our stories. And so I have the gift of not only working with the angels and the guides and the ascended masters, I channel them, but I see light. And so when I look at you, I see your light. And so hopefully when you leave today, there will be a shift in your energy as you go into this new time period. Did anyone notice the moon last night? Isn't it amazing? It was so intense, the intensity of the energy. They're saying that if you are a little bit susceptible to the energy, you're feeling this full moon. How many can attest to that? Edginess, maybe not able to sleep. I snapped some pictures throughout the night as I was experiencing the moon energy coming in. And it reminds me of what's coming in and the changes that we're all going through. The full moon tonight, they call it a blood moon. It's actually the fourth of the last of the series of blood moons. That means that we're at the end of these huge portals of energy that's coming through, so we get to take advantage of that. Sometimes it doesn't feel like we're taking advantage of the energy. Sometimes it feels like it's pretty tense, pretty agitating, those types of things. So as we move through this energy tonight, as we move into this shift, I want you to be aware of that we're on that threshold of new energy. So at the end, before we leave today, I'll tell you what to look forward to in the next 6 months. I want to make sure that we answer any questions. So we've got a microphone, so if you have questions this morning, please raise your hand, and we'll get the microphone to you so you can ask your question. So this full moon is also about our feelings. So if you think about the eclipse, and the eclipse is about the earth being between the sun and the moon. So we're actually casting a shadow from the earth onto the moon. So many of us have been going into our own shadow experiences. So that might be shadow things or things that we are pulling up that we're needing to release. Anybody experiencing that in themselves or around? And it is an opportunity to experience that and to release it. It's all about feelings. Many of us realize when a feeling comes up or when something comes up in us, we have our intellect tells us, oh, this is what this is. I'm agitated, I'm frustrated. But we don't spend time in the feeling of that emotion. And that's what this energy is about being in the feeling, not in the intellectual piece of it. And that's tough for us because many of us have had lifetimes, or this lifetime, where we don't feel. We shut down, or we've been trained, or we've practiced, or we've really worked hard to not experience those feelings, especially out in public. So here we have this intense energy pushing us to feel, and many of us are having to learn or relearn how to feel, okay? So please take a moment. I ask you to plant your feet on the floor. If you notice, I took my shoes off because we're going to be experiencing winter and fall here pretty soon, and I think we should go barefoot as much as we can before the snow flies. So plant your feet on the ground. I want you to take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, just allow the energy to move through your body. Feel it exiting out the bottoms of your feet. So any tension that you may have felt this week or in the past few weeks, let it go. Some of this energy is bringing up agitation, frustration, anger, some of those negative or those low frequency energies that we just don't want to experience. So we get to let them go today. And the universe is providing that space for us to let them go. Deep breath in and relax. And oftentimes when we release this energy, we think we have to fill it in with something right away, right? We're in this doing mode, and that's our soul experiencing or getting ready for the new energy that's coming in after this month end, more into the next 6 months. We're preparing for a shift in our energy. And as I talk about being on the threshold, stepping into the new, part of it is using our voice. And how appropriate that that's the theme for this month here is using our voice, using our authentic voice. And sometimes to find our voice, we have to go to the raw emotions, go to the raw feelings, and discover who we are at that level. Okay? Deep breath and release. The other planets that are affecting us right now is we've got Aries. And Aries is a fire. It's about getting it done, doing the work. So in this void where we're releasing, we have this other energy that's pushing us to do something, right? Anyone feeling that? Okay, if I release, I have to be doing something, and I don't know what that something is, and that's really uncomfortable for us. So the Aries energy comes in, and it's fire, and it says, do something, do something. But the other pieces of the Aries energy is it begs us to go deep and say, who am I? What do I want? And for some people, that can be uncomfortable too. We don't know who we are. We don't know what we want. So the universe helps us out in those situations by saying, if you don't know who you are, or you don't know what you want, we're going to give you opportunities to experience what you don't want. Anyone experiencing that? Sometimes that's how we learn. I experienced this, I don't like that at all, so I want this over here. And that's one way to get us to move. So if you're experiencing those things in your life right now that you don't want or uncomfortable, the higher frequency, or a way to look at that is, what's my opportunity here? What am I being shown that I get to release, that I get to be done with, that I get to experience and then move on? Because that's the energy that we're in. We're always moving forward. So as much as Aries is pushing us to who I am, what do I want, and get it done, then we've got Libra and Virgo that are more the planners, more of the soft emotional, saying, hey, wait a minute. Before you jump into the what's next, you need to plan a little bit. You need to focus just a little bit. How many of you have been in dream state the last month? Like creativity, crazy creativity, fun stuff. I've had so many clients call and say, I have so much energy, so many ideas coming to me. My problem is I don't know what to act on. There's so much. What do I do? So you don't need to do anything. But the universe always moves you forward when you set your intents and you start taking tiny steps forward. So certainly dream, but when you dream, aim. That's one of the things that many of us don't aim. We just gather the information and we go. Because we have confidence in ourselves, we know we'll be okay. But the energies are saying aim. Focus and aim. And even if you don't know what the very end game is, set a direction. Okay? Does this resonate with you? Okay. I'm going to pause. Any questions that you might have? Yes.
Morning, Laurie.
Good morning.
So I hear this from a lot of different sources, that there's more energy, or that the energy is more accessible. Can you say a little bit more about the source of the energy?
Yes. So the question is, there's a lot of publications, there's a lot of talk about energy, vibrational frequency. So where's that source coming from? What's happening? There's natural universal energy, and some people call it in the terms of light. There's more light coming in. And frequency or vibrational frequency shows up for us in light, in colors, in smells, in sound. The ringing in your ears, that's energy coming in. Strange smells that you might smell, that's the universe energy coming in. So it's coming from out there, beyond, but it's also coming from us. So as we raise our frequency and we join new communities where our frequencies are higher, we emit a high frequency. Now, if we're in a low frequency environment, we emit low frequency. And that's why many of us are struggling to be in those low frequency places. Job shifts, relationship shifts, where we live, those might suddenly feel like it doesn't fit us anymore because we've changed. So a lot of light coming in. That's why we're also being asked to be outside more. Be with our like communities. Be with our vibrational tribes, like this group here. Did I answer that question? Yes, thank you. Yeah. Okay. Other questions? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the patterns that we have in our life. And the patterns are stories that we tell. We all have stories about who we are. So when you introduce yourself to someone, you tell your story, right? Here's who I am. Here's what I do. You give a little blip. We're now in the space of being able to change our stories. And I welcome you to step across this threshold and change your stories. Listen to your stories. Listen to the stories you tell about your life, your family, your job. And what might you want to change in that story? What might you want to add, delete, modify, totally get rid of? What new stories do you want to create? And when you listen to other people's stories, notice how you react to their stories. Do you have people in your life that always have the same story and it's painful to listen to, right? So you don't know what to do. It's like, should I be empathetic? Should I listen to this story? Should I coach them? What should I do? Those are all very good questions and very good decisions that each of you will need to make as you notice other people's stories. And we can't change other people's stories, but we can change ours. We can change how we participate in their story. I might say, I hear you, I don't believe that, or I'm choosing not to believe that. So we have a responsibility in our own energy field to act or to react in that. Okay. I'm watching some light come in back there. So, did you have a question?
I do. Okay, thank you. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning.
My friend and I were just talking about this just getting out of the car today, and I have friends that are, every time I see them, and I've known them since I was, 12 years old, and they are the same. I mean, I see them moving a little bit forward, but it's so hard for me to be with them.
Yes.
Because what do we talk about? They're doing the same things and I'm moving forward. And it's really kind of painful for me. So I'm just wondering, what can we do to kind of smooth that out a little bit?
So a couple things that I'm just going to invite the angels to come in and see what they have to say about that. And Raphael is saying, we can always have the choice of sending light and love to them. We can send them energy without being pulled into their energy. And I think that's a key point for all of us. If you are very empathic or you feel their energy, you want to send them light. You don't want to be in their light as much. Some people might choose to step away. If it's family members, it's kind of difficult to step away. Some families are cutting ties, though. But you might need to make that choice to step away and be very selective as to when or how you spend time in that space. There are a lot of anchors in the light, meaning that there are people in our lives that anchor us backwards. In fact, sometimes we can be our own anchors, right? Fear holds us back. We get stuck in a situation. We keep processing it. We get anchored there. The universe isn't going to allow that going forward. The universe is going to push you forward through experiences to let it go and to move on, because you're meaning to be in that higher frequency. We're supposed to be moving into the fourth and the fifth and experiencing those higher dimensions. That's why all these young children are coming in that are already these high frequencies. So we're being surrounded by the earth shifting into a higher frequency. Our children are being shifted, are coming in at a higher frequency. So we will move. Some people will just move a little bit slower. There are also people that are choosing to leave the planet. If they are not comfortable with the shifting of frequency, they're choosing to leave. And we have to be aware of that also, that might be part of their journey path. And that might sound selfish, or it might sound, well, what can I do to help? Send them light, send them love, and understand that that is their journey path they get to experience. It's important that you take this view, and I'm channeling right now, it's important that you take this view because it doesn't hold you back. Your job right now is to evolve. Wow, that was a powerful. Your job right now is to evolve. That's all you have to do, is allow yourself to evolve. That's the doing. It's really quite simple, they say. It's just simply being in this energy. All right? Questions? Yeah. Questions? All right. Well, I'm watching light come in. So if it's feeling a little bit warm back in that corner, there's some big beams of light. Are you guys feeling warm back there, by chance? So there's big beams of light that are coming in, and when I see this light, just take a deep breath. Light or energy is frequency, and there's a heat to it. So oftentimes we feel it in warmth, or we feel an overwash of heat. Yes?
I have a question. I mean, you kind of mentioned this already, but I'd like to hear it again. What do you do if you have a partner and you feel that you want to hear what your partner has to share with you, but at the same time, and this may not even be about the partner, she may be sharing about somebody else, but the story is a downer. So
Yes.
what do you do so that you're not telling your friend, your partner, I don't want to hear this, but at the same time, you feel like you have to because that's your partner and you want to honor her desire to share, but the story brings you down. It's mentioning somebody who's always having a problem or something, and the person never seems to move. So what's the solution to this? How can you say, yes, I am very willing and very happy to hear your stories, but I don't want to hear the downer stories. So what's the answer to this?
So a good way that I would use in that is to say, wow, that must be becoming very difficult for you to continue to hear that story. It must pull down your energy. Let's take a moment and just hold them in the light, because that's really all we can do right now. So it creates that outward flow of energy, and it takes you away from having to solve it, or from her having to solve, her or him having to solve it. So they oftentimes, if you're healers or you're in the field of healing or other holistic work, you're getting these types of conversations to you on a regular basis. And that's where people are right now. They're needing healers, they're needing light workers, they're needing the holistic people to go to. And it's our job to hold them in the light or to give them light, but not to be sucked out of our own energy field. Does that help? And that takes practice, because we do want to support our loved ones. We do want to listen to them. There is a lot of importance in being able to release that. Many times, as I mentioned earlier, our feelings, many times we don't voice our feelings. We don't know how to process what I'm feeling. And so some people do it very eloquently by doing internal meditation, journaling, having quiet time. Some people need to talk in addition to that, or they need to talk because they're in the spin cycle. Does anyone know anyone like that? And sometimes speaking about that, women, I don't want to say any stereotypes, but women sometimes are better about talking about that. Guys, they want to do it themselves. And we're in this place of doesn't matter. However you can process those feelings or those emotions, that's what Spirit is asking you to do. Part of the equinox, as well as the solar or the lunar eclipse, is about balance. This week I was watching all Facebook postings where people were standing up brooms on equinox. Did anyone catch that? It's the earth is there's equal energy. And so you can actually, with practice, you can stand up a broom and it just stands. It doesn't tip one way or another. You'll have to wait until spring or next fall to try it again. But it was kind of amusing to try, kind of a fun experiment. Science meets energy. But it's about balance. And so on this week, also notice where we're out of balance. And as I talk about the masculine, feminine, and women sometimes it's easier for them to process feelings. That might not necessarily be true, because we're looking at how do we balance. There's no one right way or wrong way. It's about being in balance. Okay? Does that make sense? Now you're all going to go home and try the broom trick this afternoon, right? Other questions? Did it cool off a little bit back there? No? Or does it still feel warm? Is the lights coming down? So typically, and I'm moving a lot of light here because some of you, I'm seeing some patterns, I'm seeing some stories, I'm seeing some things that just need to be broken up so that the new light can come in. So as you go today, be outside in this beautiful weather, this beautiful sunshine, put your feet in the grass, just connect with Mother Earth, but also drink lots of water. Another thing that our bodies are really craving right now is a lot of water. Sleep is iffy for people right now. Anyone having a hard time sleeping? You kind of have to grab it when you can because the energy is so intense it's waking us up. So sometimes just knowing that you can grab a nap will help you through this transition point. Okay? All right, other questions? So the emotions that have been coming up that we get to release, and I'm just moving some of these away, are frustration, anger, tenseness, some things that we maybe experienced something this week or a few weeks back, and we thought we let it go, but the energy is still in our DNA. The energy is still in our body, and that low frequency energy makes us tired. So I welcome you to release any of that energy, even if you've been around people that maybe have been irritated or angry or felt angst or anxiety, that you release that energy today. That's really important for you to do that. Okay. I'm just moving some light. Are you feeling it here? Yep. Just open that up. I'm just seeing beams come in. So I want you to take a moment. Thank you for that. They're just showing me that. Take a moment, and if you think that there is a particular area or blockage in your life, think about what that blockage might be. If it's about relationship or job, where do I live? What do I do about my kids? Those are all energy things. Hang on just a moment, because I'm going to move some energy here, and then we'll get to your question. So think for a moment of where that blockage might be. And I'm going to direct this light into your field. So take a deep breath in. Visualize being able to access this beam of light. So as we talked earlier, where does this light come from? Think of it as a beam of light. You can choose white, pink, green, purple, whatever your favorite color is. And allow it to come into your physical body, your third dimension. Allow it to swirl around. Allow it to release. So any blockage, anything that you might feel is holding you back, allow it to be released at this time. And if any words come up to your patterns, to your stories, allow that to go. And you're okay if you're coughing, that's just a release of energy. That's a good, healthy thing. So if you're trying to hold back a cough or stifle anything, let it go. All right. All right. And come back to center. And you might have felt the heat go up in the room here. Did you feel that heat? The heat rise. It's the energy. I'm seeing the angelic bodies come in to help us today in this. Moving a lot of energy, moving a lot through us, preparing us, creating that space. And if I were to show you a video camera of your physical, your space, I would see that most of you, many of you, have expanded your aura field outward. And that's what we're really wanting to do in this time period is you don't have to fill it, just expand it outward. Okay, Ruben, did you have a question?
And this is actually a request for help because I don't know what to do with this problem, so this would be helpful. I'm going to mention two groups. I'm trying to learn not to be judgmental. But there are two groups that, and these are large groups, that really kind of turn me off, because I think one group, for example, the ones into weapons, and this is the best weapon, and here's this guy who's going to show you all the good weapons. I see them as dragging the planet into backwardness, because if we're going to be a civilized, a very advanced planet, we're not going to need weapons. Weapons are going to drag us down. And how do I keep from judging those people? I want to love those people, not judge them. And I don't know how to do that, quite frankly. I see them as just dragging us into the mud. And the other group that I'll just mention quickly is those who hunt not for food. They just hunt for fun. I have trouble with that. Why do you think you have a right to kill anything? Especially large animals. I mean, they're obviously very, they have feelings and so on. How can you kill anything unless you're starving? So how do I keep from condemning those people? How can I love those people? And is there any message I'm supposed to convey to them? And how do I do that without being judgmental? So that's my question.
So the first thing that I'm hearing the message for you is that to claim that you're not judgmental. Just to claim that I'm not judgmental. And then secondly, to direct your attention away from their actions. Separate their actions from who they are. I love them. They're human beings. We're all human beings. We might all have behaviors or actions that we do that we don't like or people don't like about us. So they're saying to separate those two. And then thirdly is to not focus the energy on the bad actions that they are doing. Because when we focus our energy on anything negative, we're actually contributing to that energy field. So contribute on the health of the animals or the health of a community with no violence. So focus energy on those things. And by nature, by the principles and the laws of the universe, when we focus on those things, the higher frequency, the low frequency things fall away. When we focus on those low frequency, they continue to gain momentum. They get our energy. And it's uncomfortable. I can tell in your energy field it's really uncomfortable for you because you really want to do something. And the best thing you can do for those groups or those animals is to focus love and focus on where there's light going into those areas. Okay? Yeah. Judging is really hard. It's coming up for us now because we want good, right? Everybody wants good. And as we move into higher frequency, we're seeing more of where it doesn't match us. We're noticing it doesn't feel good. It doesn't we don't see it as a good act. And so we get to step away from that. Everybody is on their own journey. And all we can do is just hold them in the light. That's the consistent message I get day in and day out, is just hold them in the light. It's a great question. Yeah.
Ray, earlier you mentioned that we should be expanding our energy field. Can you say a little bit more about why and what's happening when we do that?
Yeah, so when we expand our energy field in a higher frequency, we connect with others that are expanding their energy field. And an old way of protecting ourselves would be to shield ourselves and put light around us. And that's also is falling away. Right now we're asking, or they're asking us, to expand our energy field, to fill it with love. And as we fill it with love, nothing can come into that space. But it expands our space. And as a collective, then we connect with others that are expanding. And as a collective, we raise the collective consciousness. So, and that is very different. For lifetimes, we've been taught to protect ourselves. I've even, in my first book, I wrote about it, how to protect yourself. But that's different. That's an old energy. It's an old belief. We protect ourselves by emitting love and light. It's a great question. Yeah. There's another question. Yeah.
You spoke a lot about the creative energy that we might be experiencing, and I just have had this pronounced creative energy. It's kind of been overwhelming where ideas are coming so fast I can't even write them down quick enough. And you said perhaps don't necessarily act on them, or can you share a little bit more about what we should do with that creative energy?
Yep. Definitely capture them. Definitely record them, write them down, capture them, because more creates more. More creativity creates more creativity. More love creates more love. More prosperity creates more prosperity. More anger creates more anger. So in the laws of the universe, write it down, welcome it, celebrate it. But sometimes it's the confusion is like there's so many good ideas and I don't have enough hours in the day. And I too experience that. I can work a lot. I can be they keep me up for a long time. But sometimes it's just stepping back and saying, what makes sense for right now? And then moving towards that. That's also part of this understanding who I am, what do I want? Because they might be good ideas, but they might be a good idea for somebody else. Or they might be a good idea that somebody else gave you years ago, but it doesn't fit you. Is anyone experiencing that? It's like it sounds good, because everybody's generating ideas, right? We're in this creative space, but does it make sense for you? So I say sit with that. And what I mean by that is take some quiet time, be in a calm, gentle space that you can have time to assess, does it fit me? It's kind of like trying on a sweater, trying on jeans. Does it fit me or not? So spend some time in that, but definitely keep a list. Once you know what your direction is, then set focus on what direction you want to go. So if there's a few that really energize you, really speak to who you are, set direction towards that. And it doesn't have to be a huge step. It's simply, I'm open to this and I'm looking for whatever comes into me. I'm open to any signs, any help for it to come into me. Okay? The other part of our human nature is when we get an idea, we think we have to do it now. We have to do it really good. And then we got to check the box, right? We're in this time of experience and experiencing our dreams, experiencing this creative energy. So sometimes it's just the experience that we're meant to go through. It's not the end result of it. So note that too. Did I answer your question? Yeah, great question, thank you. Other questions? Yes?
You're talking about the change from protecting yourself from the old way to the new way with sending out love.
Yep.
And so from protecting yourself with this love, I still have fear around issues. Like, so even there's this creativity, and if I want to do a business, and there's all this, there's ideas of things that I love, and yet there's this fear saying not to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, so
That's
there's,
what I do.
I think there's two questions in there, the old energy of protecting ourselves and then sending love to it, and then how do we move into action around some of this creativity and move away from fear. So fear is one of the oldest, lowest frequencies that we still hang on to. And it's easy to move into that space because we live in a world of practicality. We need revenue, we need money, we need to work, we need certain things. We need a house over our head, we need certain things. And so it's being able to balance, and that's again, we're in this balance. Balance the practicality, what you need, with moving forward without fear. So look for the places where you can step forward without fear. Because fear will create that roadblock for you. So if you want to start a business, what are some small steps for you that you can step forward without fear? Is it getting out and meeting and greeting people? Is it spinning up a website? What are some of those small things that you continue to move forward, but it's without fear? Okay. Those things that we push or those things that we move forward with in a lower frequency are struggles for us, and they will continue to be struggles for us. So I call this being in the flow. If you're in the flow, things come easier. You're moving with the laws of the universe, with energy. When it becomes a struggle, I ask you to step back and pause. You don't have to stop, just pause and ask, where am I not in the flow of my energy? So if I'm writing or if I'm creating a class and I'm stuck with it, I don't know what the content is going to be, I step aside, I put it aside, because the time's not right, I'm not in my flow. I need to ground myself, I need to come back to, maybe I don't need to teach this particular class, or I don't need to speak about this particular topic. Maybe I need to just let it go. Maybe somebody asked me to do it, but it doesn't fit me. So you take that pause to ask those questions. Who am I, and what do I want? And that can direct you then for what those next steps are. Also, they want to add in that is that it's in this place of community. So we no longer need to do things by ourselves. So if you're looking at starting a business, it's to reach out to the community. Who can help? Who can give you ideas? Who can support? We're in this space of like frequency, like vibration, but we're afraid to maybe ask for help. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. Okay. What? Yes?
This is about the distraction, like the things that he brought up about, the things that Ruben had brought up about killing. But there's also things like I saw those as a distraction because some of the alternative healers that had found cures for cancer had been killed this year. And so instead of focusing on people killing people, we were focusing on people killing animals, which to me was a little bit easier to take. But it was still a distraction when it was kind of like, I don't want to think about them killing people that are finding cures for cancer, or like the solar issues that, you know, anytime a solar car or electric car or any of those kinds of things have been put on the market, then the oil companies buy them up. So we get all distracted by all these oil issues, but then we're not focusing on the solution. Like we could really be focusing at like more like Germany is really coming up with some great wind and solar solutions. If you look at some of the pictures of what they've developed, it's like, wow, why don't we have any of those? And why aren't we even talking about any of those? And they're so amazing over there. And why are we so distracted? And how do, like, when it does come up, how can I recenter myself quicker and go, okay, that's just a distraction.
Yep. And that's the secret, is noticing it as a distraction and saying, I'm choosing not to put my energy there. Because when you put your energy there, you're magnetizing to that energy, but you're also magnetizing to that community of energy. And the best thing you can do is magnetize yourself to some group or some cause that can do good. So what I do, if I sign on to the internet and you get the splash pages of all the news stories and all the top icky ones are right there in front of you. I choose to not click on those. And every once in a while I might click, I'm human, I might click, but then I quickly say, I acknowledge this, I release it, and I let it go. I don't be involved in that energy. I might go a step further and say, I'm directing energy to the healing of this situation, or if one was taken out of this, let's say it's on your medical question, if one is taken out of this, please, universe, replace them with 10 more. So it's just turning that energy to focus on where the positive, where the high frequency is. There are tactics to keep us in that low frequency. And the universe is not wanting us to be there. The universe is wanting us to be in the high frequency. So communities like this that are celebrating the high frequency things, that's where we want to tag our energy.
I just want to add that for me, those things come up, and it's actually giving me an option to make a choice. Mm-hmm. And I found that a really, I channel. So Essence has said, when you see something that doesn't look like love, ask yourself, what would love look like there? Mm-hmm. So when you see those things, rather than getting into it in like going down the dark space, ask yourself, what would I rather see there? And then focus on that. Ask yourself, what would love look like there? And then be that.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. Everything is from this place of love, from a place of love. And even having difficult conversations or making difficult decisions can come from a place of love. It doesn't have to come from a place of anger or tension. It can come from a place of peace and love. And those are sometimes a little bit more difficult to come from that. But that's where the universe is supporting us with this higher frequency. I'm just noticing that your energy, I'm tipping your energy. So I don't know if you felt a shift after we talked, but you're back in alignment. So sometimes, and thank you for allowing me to do that, sometimes we become, I don't want to say unplugged. We're always plugged into the universe, but we become diminished. It's like running too many extension cords together, and by the time you get to the end, it's iffy. It's kind of dangerous, too, on this extension, this power cord. So as we connect to our source and our higher source, we want to make sure we have that pure energy, and sometimes we get tipped. The message that I got for you is sometimes when we want to help or we get pulled into or others pull us into that, they're tipping or they're pulling our energy. So we're not straight up, we might be tipped. We might start feeling aches and pains in our body because our energy field is tipped. And our energy field runs way out before it hits our physical body. So as I see an energy tipped, the first thing to do is align your energy field, okay? So if you felt a shift in you, like you felt like you needed to sit up a little straighter, it's you just got reconnected on a bigger pipe. Yes?
I have a question about people wearing all this electronic stuff, like this Fitbits, and my sister had one that was like on her, and a Fitbit, and it's like, what? I just wonder.
I was just going to say, how many are wearing Fitbits?
I just wonder how that's affecting, any positive or good energy, really, for them to absorb it, and how it affects, well, I'm just worried about my sister. Seriously, she has like too much crap on her. And she has a phone with her all the time. It's like, what? So anyways, I just am curious about, I have an old flip phone, and I don't subscribe to any of that, because I don't even wear a watch anymore because I don't want that kind of energy. So yeah. I just wonder about that. I guess
So, and you raise a really good question about electronics, and even our children that are glued to games and TV and the internet. The school systems, now every kid has a computer and all the coursework is done. So we are subjected to it. We really can't get away from it unless we choose to go dormant on that. So it is to be aware of that, to be aware of your frequency, be very selective. I can choose to not carry my phone. I can choose to wear a Fitbit, not wear a Fitbit, those types of things. But in the space where you are away from electronics, plug back into Mother Nature. So I would say if you know someone or if you yourself are always plugged into something, I'm on the computer a lot, and I can tell when my energy is tipped or off. I'll go outside and I'll just stand on my deck, or I'll stand in the grass, or the grass isn't wet, I'll just lay down just to reconnect. I also do a lot of work with crystals and stones or other elements of nature to reground myself. So it's important to bring that balance back into your life too. So I don't think we can get away from electronics. They're here, they're a part of life, but we can learn how to balance with them and without them too. Yeah.
Thank you, Eileen, for that question. Because I too worried about that, but what happened for me is my body started to let me know when I've worn my Fitbit too long or too much, I need to take it off. One time I was awakened out of my sleep, and I just snatched it off, threw it on the dresser because my body had had enough of that.
It does create a pulse. So does power lines. If you live near power lines or in a highly static area, they emit a frequency that we absorb. And as you move into that higher frequency, you do become more aware, more open, more susceptible to the pulsing. I too have a Fitbit, and I can't wear it because it pulses through me. And so you can't, sometimes you can't. But technology is here to stay. There will be a holistic healer at some point that invents something that isn't quite so intrusive to our electromagnetic field. So there's an idea out there for someone. Other questions?
This isn't really a question, but I also believe that with all the advanced technology and stuff, that the universe will just self-correct that. You know, we'll come up with a better, healthier, you know, solution to everybody being so connected to electronics that it is what it is now, but I don't know, I just feel that that's all going to be self-corrected.
In that higher, there are philosophers that believe that we will no longer, at some point, no longer need to speak. We will just be able to communicate with our thoughts or with our energy field. And so that there are people today that can do that. I can sit next to someone, and sometimes if I focus, I can pick up on their speech, what they're thinking, those types of things. But that's higher, that's more into the 6th or 7th as we move up into the dimensions. So, yeah. All right, other questions? Yeah, Ruben.
Just thinking, you know, with the technology, it's just kind of a simple question, but is it in a sense kind of all the technology actually taking us away from developing our abilities? Because if I'm sitting around with some kind of phone that I'm looking at all the time, I don't even look at the street.
I'm actually not, I'm unconscious. I'm actually in a state of sleep.
Yeah.
So sometimes I see technology as taking us backwards instead of forwards. Because we need to learn to become more aware of nature and be conscious, not unconscious. And technology can make us totally unconscious, where you're not even there. You know, I remember a picture of all these teenagers sitting around looking at their phones. They could be talking to each other, and they're not.
Right, or they're texting each other across the table.
Yeah. So, you know, sometimes I feel like I should, you know, or promote non-technology. You know, let's go back to the whatever, you know, and let's promote that. But maybe we need a balance there. But just think, you know, people are constantly checking messages that before nobody even cared about.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares about that message, that phone right now?
That
you know.
is. There will be a shift where we get more into the community. So some of the crystal children, the children that are coming in now, want more of that connection, non-technology. Some of the communities that are being built, if you watch some of the living communities or the storefront communities that are popping up around the Twin Cities, are more in that cohesive community living. So we'll go through that shift, but we're a ways away from that right now. Or I don't know that we'll see it fully in our lifetime, or maybe at the end of our lifetime. But. All right, I want to get through, as I promised, the next 6 months. And what I heard last night as I was jotting down what's the takeaway message is really the action is to share your gifts. So as we opened and we talked about finding your own voice, it's as you find your own voice, as you find who you are, what you want in life. Share those gifts outward. Because that's what we're meant to do, is discover them and share them outwards. And that takes some courage, it requires some bravery, but it's where we're moving into. So notice that urge where you might feel like, I just need to share this. I need to pick up the phone. I need to text somebody. I need to talk to someone about what I'm experiencing this. The other thing is speaking your truth. As you discover who you are and what you want, be truthful, be authentic in what that is, because that in itself raises your frequency. If you have to adjust who you are inwardly with who you are presenting outwardly, that holds you back. That's an anchor for you. So be authentic in who you are and show you. So we are given the opportunity to step across this threshold, expand our energy field, which to me looks like expanding our beacon of light. And so you get to go forward and radiate that. So don't be afraid of that. And the last thing is, look to be your own healer. Sit with that one for a moment. Be your own healer. We often seek external help or external ideas or someone else to help us, you have the capability of healing and helping and setting direction for yourself. Be your own healer. All right. Thank you. What a great circle. All right, take a deep breath in. And as the messages are, be your own healer. Take a deep breath and feel for a moment the energy that's coming up through your feet, coming up into your core, permeating out into your hands, going out into your neighbor's hands and around the room. And you might be feeling some tingling in your neck. Today the theme was finding your voice, and I'm feeling there's a lot of work going on in our throat area today. Deep breath in. And as we step forward and as we evolve, know that all is in divine timing. It's all with purpose, and we all are on a journey. We'll all get to the point where we need to get to. It's to let go of any impatience that we have and just believe we are on track and all is as it should be. Deep breath in. Thank you. As you go forward, enjoy the energies of today and enjoy the eclipse tonight. Thank you. Ooh!